One of the most important vehicles to see service with the German Army in the Second World War was the Sd.Kfz 251 armoured personnel carrier. Although based upon the 3-ton chassis developed by Borgward for the Sd.Kfz 11, manufacture was handed over to the Hanomag company, with the first model, the 251A, leaving the production line in June 1939, a number seeing action in Poland and France. The 251 spawned 23 variants by 1945, two of the earliest being the 251-4, used to tow the 105mm howitzer, and the 251-10, mounting the Pak-36. This Model B is serving in Russia in 1941, by which time most panzer divisions had received SPWs, or Schützenpanzerwagen. However, it was not until 1942 that all panzer divisions could field SPWs. These Model Cs are taking part in the German counter-offensive at Kharkov in May 1942, and just prior to the start of the offensive in southern Russia. By this time, Model Cs are becoming the predominant mark of the SPW seen on film. They were to serve on all fronts. Others seen in this footage are serving in France as part of the occupation forces, although most were employed in Russia with the army. (4,650) of the first 3 models of the 251 had been produced when, in September 1943, the final model, the D, appeared on the production line. The new body of the model was a major rework, as in the case of its smaller stablemate, the 250, to reduce the number of armour plates and incorporate more flats to ease both the speed and cost of production. The rationalisation led to the emergence of a much cleaner looking machine, wherein many of the awkward angles and more complex features of the first 3 models had been eliminated. The cowls of the Model C went, and the angled rear gave way to a straight plate, allowing for an easier rear door arrangement. While weight crept up slightly in consequence of these engineering changes, performance of the SPW was little affected. The new design also left the 251D somewhat longer at 19 feet 7.5 inches. Height remained at 5 feet 9 inches and width at 6 feet 11 inches. Although the cross-country performance of the 251 never matched that of a fully tracked vehicle, it was nonetheless able to cope effectively. The 251-7 illustrated here is serving with the Waffen-SS Division Viking in Poland, late 44. SPW units discovered early on in the war that it was not always possible to lay hands on heavier armament when confronted with a heavily armed enemy, but experience in Russia forced the need for SPWs to be given their own fire support. The development of a 251 to carry the 75mm L-24 cannon was ordered by the Army in 1942, with the first production machines, employing the Model C chassis, entering service before the end of that year. The identical fitting of the 75mm gun as employed on the C was adopted for the D. Later in the war, a standard mounting for the gun was developed that sat on top of the body. In his inspection of the newly raised 12th SS Panzer Division, Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt stands to examine a 251-16, a version of the SPW fitted out to tow 140mm flamethrowers. Later in the sequence we see a 251-16 in action, supporting troops in Holland in the late autumn of 1944. SPWs continued in combat literally to war's end. This footage all dates from the period December 1944 through to March 1945, when the newsreel ceased to record events on the orders of Dr. Goebbels. Most show SPWs in action in the fighting around the city of Budapest in Hungary, and the last abortive German offensive under the code South Wind in January 1945 around Lake Balaton. SPWs pass a destroyed Su-76 as they advance with Panther tanks towards a temporarily retreating Soviet enemy. The last film of 251s was taken as German forces tried desperately to contain the Soviets on the River Oder. The career of the 251 in the German army ended with the last examples fighting in the streets of Berlin in May 1945.